In Ecuador, the President of the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, Leonidas Iza, is exonerated from the trial against him. In the U.S., at least 6 people are reported dead and several wounded due to a shooting in the state of Illinois during the Independence Day parade. Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated the military on the liberation of the self-proclaimed Lugansk People's Republic. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Ecuador, the President of the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, Leonidas Iza, is exonerated from the trial against him. The trial hearing against him was not installed and was declared failed by Judge Paul Abedon due to the anomalies in the evidentiary requests. The Constitutional Court of Ecuador has 45 days to rule on the consultation with the objective to grant a period of 15 days to evacuate requests for evidence. The process against Leonidas Iza has been widely criticized after he was arrested during the first day of the national strike in a police action considered arbitrary by his defense.
This trial, comrades, is unjust. An unjust trial. Justice is not fair, comrades. How do you pretend to legalize a lie? Please, I was never arrested in a flagrant crime. That is why we have said, whatever it costs, including our lives, comrades, we are going to defend a truth, and we have to take that truth to the national and international levels, comrades.
Chile Constitutional Convention delivered its final proposal for the country's new constitution, which will be consulted by the people on September the 4th. The meeting was held at the National Congress building in the capital and was attended by 154 convention members and special guests. The Chileans will have from Monday to 2 months to study the document, which declares the nation as a social state of law after over 30 years under the shadow of the constitution promoted by Augusto Pinochet's dictatorship. During the presentation, the Vice President of the Convention, Gaspar Dominguez, points out that the new text intends to create a universal health system, strengthen public education, as well as increase the right of indigenous people. The President of the Brazil Senate, Rodrigo Pacheco, by pardon, will determine this week whether to open the preliminary Commission of Inquiry (CPI) on corruption in the Ministry of Education. The objective of the legislative group will be to investigate the allegations of misappropriation of public funds in the association between former Education Minister Milton Ribeiro and Pastor Gilmar Santos Arilto Moura, sent to the former official at a request of President Jair Bolsonaro. Local media report that a week ago, the Senate Speaker had resisted the establishment of the commission, but was convicted by the opponents who claimed that such a committee is necessary to avoid interference in the federal police investigation. Meanwhile, other supporters of the former military ruler are trying to convince Pacheco to postpone the opening of the commission until after the elections. Uruguayan justice began an inquiry into the use of anti-COVID-19 vaccines produced by the U.S. pharmaceutical company Pfizer. In the framework of a right filed to suspend the application of the pharmaceutical formula in children, authorized by the Ministry of Public Health Judge Alejandro Recarrey, approved the beginning of the investigation. According to the decision, the executive power of the firm Pfizer must present information on the compounds of the vaccines and detail whether they contain grapsam oxidant or the nanotechnological elements. The authorities were also asked to scrutinize the contracts between the Uruguayan government and the pharmaceutical company to check if it contains clauses of criminal impunity for the suppliers in case of adverse effects of the population. In the U.S., at least 6 people are reported dead and several wounded due to a shooting in the state of Illinois during an Independence Day parade. The state security forces informed that they have terminated persons responsible. They also confirmed that at least 16 people were injured during the incident and are already being treated at a local hospital. Dozens of citizens participated in the parade recorded an incident in which gunshots were heard and people were observed running from the place. Highland Park is a residential area located about 40 kilometers from Chicago, in which about 30,000 people live according to the last census.
At this time, 24 people have been transported to Highland Park Hospital. 6 are confirmed deceased. The suspect is currently described as a male white, approximately 18 to 20 years old, with longer black hair, a small build, and wearing a white or blue t-shirt.
We'll take a short right now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated the military on the liberation of the self-proclaimed Lugansk People's Republic. During a meeting with the head of defense, Sergei Shoigu, the Russian president congratulated the Russian and Lugansk military for the liberation of the entire territory of the self-proclaimed republic. The president also promised to reward all the servicemen who distinguished themselves in the operation, them then for the work and wishes them for their success. The Russian head of state also assured that the forces in Lugansk deserves a rest while he called on the rest of the force to fulfill the pre-established objectives.
Military units, including the East Group and the West Group as well, must carry out their tasks according to previously approved plans. I hope that everything will go on in their direction the same way it happened in Lugansk so far.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said that offensive operation to liberate the territory of the self-proclaimed Lugansk People's Republic was successfully carried out.
An offensive operation to liberate the territory of Lugansk People's Republic was successfully carried out. Within 2 weeks, groups in the Gorsky Cauldron in the district of Lysychansk and Severodonetsk were surrounded and liquidated.
Russia, the president of the parliament, Vyacheslav Volodin, stated that Finland should not house NATO military bases. From the end of June, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is expected to establish a base in Finland following the company's accession of the military bloc. Consequently, the Russian parliament warned that development of NATO bases will expose a blow to neighbors of those countries housing the military infrastructures. However, Kirill Jarva, mayor of Lappeenranta, a city of northern Finland, told YLE television that his airport will be able if at least forces needed in the middle of the Ukrainian conflict. In Uzbekistan, the General Prosecutor's Office reported that at least 18 people were killed in riots in Karakol, Pakistan. A spokesman for the Prosecutor's Office said on Monday that 18 people succumbed to serious injuries during the mass riots in the city of Nukus on July 1st and 2nd. Earlier, that spokesman for the Uzbek National Guard said 243 people were injured, 94 of whom were hospitalized. The protests were sparked by an attempt to make amendments to the country constitution, which sought to strip current Pakistan of its status of a sovereign republic. However, this Monday, the parliamentarians decided to keep the articles referring to the territory unchanged. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov received his Venezuelan counterpart Carlos Faria in Moscow to discuss issues related to the bilateral cooperation and the international situation. The minister discussed current issues on the bilateral agenda, the deepening of Russian-Venezuelan cooperation in various files, and coordination in the file of foreign policy. Prime Minister Lavrov points out that his country will continue to support the government and the Venezuelan people in defense of national sovereignty by all means. For his part, the Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Affairs, Carlos Farias, thanked Moscow's mediation in dialogue between all the political forces in Venezuela.
We would also like to thank you, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and the Russian government for support, political support, the support of national processes which are going in Venezuela. I mean, Russia's participation as a mediator in the talks with the Venezuelan opposition.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov praised the actions of the Venezuelan government that brought the country to a path of sustainable development.
We welcome the progressive normalization of the situation inside and around Venezuela, and we see how, thanks to the responsible and competent policy of the government led by President Maduro, the country is returning to the path of sustainable development, and we will assist this in every way.
When asked about a mass expulsion of Russian diplomats for Bulgaria, the Russian minister said that Russia will respond in a mirror-like manner.
The people from Bulgaria illegally expelled our diplomats, declaring persona non grata. They, most of them, ensure the vital activity of our diplomatic missions. Now, after this excess, completely illegal, according to our assessment, according to the Foreign Ministry, the embassy is not able to work normally. Already now, naturally, we will reciprocate our Bulgarian colleagues.
And we have more news coming up after final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back. China denounces NATO's new strategic concept of allied respect for nations' sovereignty and territorial integrity. Prime Minister spokesman Zhao Lijian said a new strategic concept of the military alliances is pledged by the Cold War mentality, while rejected NATO's statement calling Beijing a challenge to its interests. The spokesman points out that China is a defender of international order that maintains a policy of peace that contributes to global development. Zhao also stressed that military bloc proclaims itself a defensive organization that advocates international order while ignoring the decision of the UN Security Council leading a war against sovereign states. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with his counterpart from Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos in the occasion of cooperation of the Langani-Mekong River. In an that Beijing will continue to adopt friendly policies towards Myanmar and its citizens. Una Maolin appreciated China's assistance to Myanmar's development. During this meeting at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, Wang Yi highlighted the increase in bilateral trade and the smooth operation of the China-Laos railroad line. The minister also expressed his support for the consensus agreed upon on April 2021 among the Asian leaders. After over 500,000 deaths, the United Nations warned that the conflict in Tigray region of Ethiopia is on the rise of an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. According to data from the international organization, the armed struggle in Ethiopia has resulted in at least 13 million people in need of humanitarian aid, among them over the 2.5 million displaced persons and multiple allegations of war crimes, massacres, famine, and social abuse. In this context, the country authorities have in recent days set up a team of 7 negotiators for possible peace talks with Tigray forces. Gideon Timotheus, the Ethiopian Minister of Justice, said that the ruling party was run out plans to resolve the war in the north of the country peacefully. suspect armed criminal killed at least 27 people and attacked a village in northern Burkina Faso. 3 of the dead were members of a civilian militia, the Volunteers for Defense of the Fatherland, a auxiliary force set up in December 2019 to support the army. The campaign, led mainly by groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State group, claimed thousands of lives and forced some 1.9 million people to flee their homes. Over 40% of the country's lives outside the control of the government, according to official figures. Burkina Faso underwent a coup in January when disgruntled colonel ousted elected President Roch-Marc Kabore. The new strongman, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Saudogo da Milwa, declared security to be his top priority, but after a relative lull, attacks resumed with the loss of hundreds of lives. Tropical storm Bonnie became a Category 1 hurricane this Sunday night off the Mexican Pacific coast, threatening to bring heavy rains to most of the southwestern part of the country. In this latest report, the United States National Hurricane Center reported that Bonnie was located some 335 kilometers south of the commercial and oil port of Salina Cruz in the Mexican state of Oaxaca, with maximum sustained winds of 130 kilometers per hour, while moving in a west and northwesterly direction at a speed of 29 kilometers per hour. According to forecasts, the hurricane could continue strengthening to follow hours until it reached Category 2 on Monday. And after passing through Central America, Bonnie left at least 4 dead in Nicaragua and 2 in El Salvador. The tropical storm left hundreds of people displaced by the overflowing of the river, which flooded homes and brought down trees, according to the preliminary report in the affected countries. In Nicaragua, 4 people were reported drowned and 1 missing as a result of the flooding of rivers in the whole Nicaraguan territory, according to state media. While in El Salvador, rescue corps confirmed the death of 2 people. The country's authorities maintain the red alert in the 42 municipalities of the country and suspended classes for this Monday. Rapidly rising rivers dispatch sweats of rain lashes in Australia, forcing thousands to flee dangerous floods as the country's largest dams pipe torrents of water. On the 3rd day of torrential East Coast rains, emergency workers said they rescued over 80 people since the previous evening. Australia has been at the sharp of the climate change with drought, deadly bushfires, plunging events in the Great Barrier Reef, and flood becoming more common and intense as global weather pattern change. About 32,000 people were ordered to evacuate, the Emergency Services Department said, with the Army sending 100 troops to help operations in the storm-barren state. Heavy rains might persist for at least the last another 24 hours, forecast said. teleSUR English continues to grow its signal, now reaches Europe. You can order it from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on the screen are in place since July 1st, so it can quite soon for the changes will be implemented for the signal in the Middle East and Africa. Now, more than ever, the world connects to us, and our stories are being heard all around the globe. This news multi-platform will continue providing trustful content to oppose hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. And with that story, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. teleSUR English from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.